What's really going on with Liverpool? Just a few weeks ago, the Reds seemed as motivated and energised as ever, gearing up for one final title push under Jurgen Klopp's leadership. But now, fast forward to today, and it's a different story. Liverpool are teetering on the edge of elimination from the Europa League, and were the first to falter in the title race after a shocking 1-0 defeat to Crystal Palace at Anfield. In recent weeks, we've discussed the team's lack of focus, a creeping sense of complacency in their style of play, and yesterday, it was blatantly obvious that the problems aren't just tactical. The team is also battling physical and mental fatigue. You're probably still furious about yesterday's game, believe me, we are too. But that didn't stop us from re-watching the match, so that you don't have to pinpoint exactly where things went wrong for the Reds. So smash that like and subscribe button, and let's dive right into the analysis. Mentality monsters. That's what Jurgen Klopp famously called his squad because they always found a way to come back, didn't they? Well, after the crushing 3-0 loss in the Europa League, everyone was expecting a strong bounce back this weekend to keep the heat on Manchester City and Arsenal. Expectations were even higher when the lineup was announced, especially with the impressive depth showing on the bench. Alisson was back after a lengthy absence, and though Kelleher filled in admirably, Alisson's return was seen as a major lift, particularly for playing out from the back. The defence was solid with Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahim Konate at centre-back, Conor Bradley on the right, and Andy Robertson out on the left. Wataru Endo took the pivotal number 6 spot in midfield, flanked by Curtis Jones as the LCM, and Alexis McAllister marking his 12th consecutive league start as RCM. The attacking trio remained unchanged with Luis Diaz, Darwin Núñez and Mohamed Salah leading the charge. We said the team's squad depth was impressing, and how could it not be with players like Trent Alexander-Arnold, Diogo Jota, Cody Gakpo and Dominic Szoboszlai being his options off of the bench. Now let's jump into the game, shall we? We've repeatedly mentioned in our game analysis how Liverpool often concedes the first significant chance of the match. This pattern has appeared against various teams, from Burnley and Sheffield United to Manchester United and, more recently, Atalanta in the Europa League. And now we've brought you the stats to prove it, so listen up. This video is sponsored by Copite Clothing. Copite Clothing is a Liverpool clothing site owned by match-going fans. Each design is limited edition and is perfect to wear on a match day, on the terraces at Anfield, down your local, or cozy in the comfort of your own home. As stated, each design is limited edition, and if a product is showing out of stock, they will not be restocking the item, so if you have your eye on something, grab it fast. Lastly, Copite Clothing wants fellow Reds to be 100% satisfied with their orders, so if there is a reason you're not happy, they will refund you with no questions asked. Head over to copiteclothing.com or down into the link in the description to get all of your Liverpool merchandise. Anyway, let's get back into today's video. When the score is even, Liverpool conceded an average of 21.24 expected goals against. For some context, consider Nottingham Forest, who have the third worst record for goals conceded at 58. Their expected goals against when the score is level stands at 26.03. This statistic shines a light on the growing problem for Liverpool that has become more apparent in recent weeks, possibly due to a mix of tactical decisions, mental lapses, or the physical toll of a demanding season. We've pinpointed it as potentially tactical because this pattern has persisted in every match, including the Crystal Palace game, where the opponent took the first shot. Although it wasn't the first big chance, Eze's strike in the 14th minute turned out to be the decisive goal. It appears that Klopp, who is undoubtedly aware of this recurring issue, hasn't made the necessary adjustments yet. However, it's important to note the tactics alone aren't to blame. The mental and physical challenges are also evident and cannot be overlooked. So let's take a closer look at what happened during the match to better understand why Liverpool struggled against Crystal Palace. The Reds started the game in their typical 3-2-5 formation during the build-up phase, and even shifted to a 2-1-6 setup, with Andy Robertson advancing from the left to create numerical superiority up front. Despite this, Liverpool faced difficulties breaking down Crystal Palace's defence, as Palace settled into a deep back 5 when out of possession. The main issue for Liverpool was clear: their rotations weren't up to their usual standard. You see, to effectively break down a low block, your front line needs to be dynamic, constantly moving, interchanging positions, and creating space for one another. This was lacking, particularly in the first half. Liverpool's forwards were too static during the build-up. Even when Mo Salah, for instance, dropped back into the pockets to receive the ball, Crystal Palace's back line was quick to respond. Their defenders aggressively pushed forward to intercept, just as we're showing you on the screen right now. But wait, Liverpool's problems weren't just when they had possession. Their pressing was disjointed, as we've seen it during the first half. Yes, the press was intense, averaging 6.5 passes allowed per defensive action, but it wasn't as effective as it needs to be, allowing Palace to play out from the back easily. The core issue was the press was often initiated too hastily and without waiting for pressing triggers. This led to Liverpool's midfield struggling to cover the gaps between them and the forward line, gaps that Palace exploited. Take this instance for example, where Jones and Núñez initiated the press. Notice the significant space left in midfield after Anderson sends an overtop pass, with Wharton and Hughes consistently making runs. Wataru Endo was left isolated and overwhelmed, with the front line unable to match the pace of the transition. These two issues we've discussed continue to trouble Liverpool, with the team managing only 0.76 expected goals compared to Crystal Palace's 1.22 XG in the first half. If not for Andy Robertson's crucial goal line clearance, Liverpool would have ended the first period down by 2 goals. Liverpool at this passing network and the players' average positions in 48 minutes. It's clear how isolated Mo Salah and Darwin Núñez were there. The isolation was largely due to the lack of movement across the entire front line. However, in the second half, things looked up as the front line became more dynamic. There were improved movement in the final third, with effective rotations that disorganised Palace's backline. The two advanced midfielders functioning as 8s became crucial in unlocking the defence with their third-man runs, like Szoboszlai moving after linking up with Salah. This strategic shift led to a notable increases in chances, with the Reds amassing an impressive 2.05 XG in the second half alone. Curtis Jones had a one-on-one with the goalkeeper, Darwin Núñez was denied from point-blank range by Dean Henderson, and both Diogo Jota and Mo Salah had shots blocked at the last second. And just like that, Liverpool still underperformed relative to their expected goals, a continuation of what can only be described as a dry spell for the forwards. The issue primarily stems from the mental exhaustion plaguing the squad. While Klopp adjusted his tactics effectively at half-time, leading to a performance uplift, tactics alone can't enhance players' finishing abilities or their physical and mental stamina. Take Alexis Mac Allister for instance. Unquestionably, Liverpool's standout midfielder recently, his intense schedule of playing 4 full matches in 12 days clearly impacted his performance, especially in terms of covering ground and winning duels. He won only 9 of his 21 ground duels. Now let's turn our focus back to finishing and the mirrored chances the Reds have squandered lately. Liverpool boasts the highest XG in the league at 70.8, yet they only have the third best attack and are the only top 3 club to underperform relative to their expected goals. This problem has grown more evident in recent matches, with the Reds squandering at least 2 significant opportunities each game, and that's how Klopp got his recipe for disaster. Combine the issue of conceding the first big chance and missing high probability along with dip intensity and physicality, and you end up with yesterday's disappointing result. This loss has been in the making, let's face it. You can't expect the team to stage a comeback every single time, and that's exactly what unfolded against Palace. Liverpool allowed a goal from the first significant chance and struggled to convert their own opportunities into goals. Now hold on a second, beyond starting matches poorly and consistently missing chances, the biggest issue after yesterday's loss is the team's failure to respond to their midweek Europa League defeat. This marks the first time Liverpool lost 2 consecutive games across all competitions this season, whether it was against Arsenal in the league or Manchester United in the FA Cup. The Reds always managed to bounce back, even when plagued with injuries. Unfortunately, not this time. So with Klopp set to depart at the end of the season, one must wonder, is this the end of the mentality monsters? We know that many of you are livid after yesterday's result, and believe us, we are too. But let's take a moment here. We saw some supporters on social media criticising Klopp, claiming he's out of his depth, while others are blaming the players, suggesting they aren't trying hard enough. So let's set the record straight. There's no question that the players are putting everything they have into the games, especially knowing Klopp will be leaving at the end of the season. So to doubt the team's commitment is simply ridiculous. Regardless, the missed chances, the common for a club's forward to experience a dry spell during a season, sadly for the Reds, theirs came at the most critical time. Sometimes the ball refuses to hit the net and no one can do anything about it. Now when it comes to Klopp, it's easy to overlook that Liverpool started the season without a designated number 6 and with a completely new midfield. Factor in the ridiculous number of injuries and their key forward missing 2 months due to AFCON, and you can argue that Klopp deserves to be in the running for Coach of the Year for keeping Liverpool in title contention. So let us stand together behind Klopp and his men to finish the season on a high note. We can't let a single result change how we see this team, can we? So what do you think? Is this the end of Klopp's mentality monsters? Is the Premier League title slipping away? Are City set to run away with it? Or does Arsenal stumble against Aston Villa give you a glimmer of hope? Share your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button for more Liverpool deep dives. Thank you, I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.